Well, we got a good one lined up for today. Let me make sure I've got all of our players on today. We've got Mr. Ditson, I see, Mr. Spivey, I see. Todd, I'll let you pick up if there's anybody else that we need to bring in. I think we've got a pretty cool little short video that we want to play before we get started with today. But Todd, we're going over some exciting stuff around QMS, just kind of updating everyone on kind of where we are. Before we do that, and after the video, I say, then Casey and I've got some updates of our own that we want to share with everyone. And then we'll have to jump a little early because we've got our quarterly rocks meeting. All of our executives are in town, and we got a lot of really good stuff we're going over today in that meeting. But why don't we get started with a video, and we'll come back to it.
This program contains dramatic reenactments and material that may be disturbing to some audience members. Viewer discretion is advised.
I mean, it started out just like any other Saturday. I remember it was a beautiful day because I really wanted to be out barbecuing instead of dialing. But, you know, I grabbed my coffee, I printed off my leads, and I got all settled in and started making my calls. And that's when it happened.
We had been through the whole presentation before everything fell apart. I mean, I knew they could afford it. I knew they needed the coverage. He was the only one earning anything, and they had 2 young kids at home. I thought for sure I was going to walk out of there with an application. I never believed that the situation would take a turn for the worse. But it did.
Something just wasn't right. I knew we had the appointment set for 6:30.
Come on in.
I specifically remember asking them to write the time down on a piece of paper. And there I was, alone. So alone. And that's when I got really, really scared.
You know, you hear the stories on the conference calls. You hear the struggles people go through, and you tell yourself, it'll never happen to me. Bad things aren't supposed to happen to good people, right? Honestly, I don't know what else I could have done to avoid what happened next.
My heart started beating, my mouth went dry, and I couldn't get the words out. And just as I was about to, dial tone.
That's when they said their brother was an insurance agent, and they needed to run it by him first.
Oh, the old
Oh,
throwback, man. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Brandon, why do we think that's so funny?
Well, because the idea around most of our films, at least early on, was that we want to teach you a lesson. So you're watching it and you're laughing at how stupid it is, but some people actually act this way. Some people are like, I can't believe it. These leads, they hung up on me. I drove all the way out to their house and they weren't here.
That's so good.
It's so funny. I love that one. When you come out and puke in the bushes, man, I lose it every time.
At the end was Emmy worthy for sure.
I was getting texts from Roddy like, it's probably time for us to do a sequel on this one. It's so funny.
Yeah, it really, there's a couple of different directions we could go with it, but I see some good comments about making it towards virtual too. That could be really funny.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea. So what we need is we need a sheet to go out and actually get people to send us back in some of the most ridiculous or kind of lamest overreactions by an agent, so we can keep building on it. Oh man, we got a good one lined up for you today for sure. We've got Mr. Spivey, Mr. Ditson. I think Nate's on as well to be talking about giving us some updates on QMS and what's going on and what to expect. And I think kind of before we got into that, Casey, we wanted to give a few. Hey, Nate, there you are, buddy. We wanted to give some updates of our own. Maybe I should actually, why don't I share my screen and let's hit the leaderboards first, and then we can get into that. I know you and I've got to jump a little early because we have our quarterly rocks meeting going on. We've got a lot of corporate people in town, so we've got to jump a little early, but you're going to be in good hands with Mr. Spivey and crew. So I'll tell you what, before we do that, let me share some leaderboards here. Boop. Got a whole bunch of stuff on the calendar, as you can see. Boop. There's what I'm looking for. All right. You got my screen, Mr. Watkins?
I got it. Looks good.
All right, good. Top 10 new writers, and this is coming off of a little bit of a lull. I think a lot of people took off for the 4th of July. Some people took off on Monday, Tuesday, which is good. I think everything's shaping up this week to be a monster, so get out there and get it. Number 1, first-time writer for the week, Brian Schock. Well done, Brian. Ryan Gaska, this is our top 10 overall producers, followed by Carolina Morales. And number 1 is Glenn Segawa with $19,976 in premium. App count-wise, Harrison Zipkin tied with Alexandria Blackburn, and Shannon Matney is number 1 for the week. How many was that? 19 applications. I hope he's adjusted to e-apps, or else he's going to have some soreness in his hand. That's the way we would have had to do it. I thought it wore you out back then, wouldn't it? Top disability producers, Mr. Hickman, Nathaniel Benoit, maybe Benoit. I think I'm just assuming. And then Alan Cavalish, $6,541 in disability premium. Well done. Top 5 IUL producers. Number 1, Glenn Segawa, 5 for almost $20,000 in premium. Not too bad, buddy. We have to dig in on what Glenn's got going on. Top annuity producers. Look at this number 3. I mean, what a great week for annuities. I need to go back and look. This is shaping up to where it looks like it could be an all-time record week. Brett Loftus with $500,000, Jay Listerman with $650,000, and Mr. Stubbs with $935,580. Heck of a week. Darren Stubbs, Brett, Jay, Wade, Michael, everybody on the board. Top 3 DFL producers, Matthew Sprott, Kathleen Baldini, and Zachary Strasshofer, $6,000 in DFL production. Gonna have an update on some DFL stuff here in a minute too.
Hey, Brandon.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Brandon. Time out right quick. We got a lot of people saying they can't see the leaderboard. So if anybody's having trouble seeing the PowerPoint slides and all the leaderboards, if you'll go to the top right and click view, and you want to select the side-by-side gallery option, and that should pop up, and then you can readjust the size of the screen for Brandon and Casey's pretty faces.
Yeah, get us off of there. Get as little of looking at us as possible. Thank you, Mr. Spivey. Top base shop recruits for the week, Andrew Jimenez with 10, sitting at the top. Ben and Amy Miller killing it, though, with 9. Well done. Mike and Christine, see you down there as well. Top direct is Jacob Pogue with 30. You just heard from Kevin Purdy with 29, Chris Cook 19. Licensed recruits. And this is where we're starting to see a lot of uptick Casey. We're going to talk about this in a minute. Ashley Tarr, well done with 4. Jacob Pogue with 10. Kevin Purdy with 9 in the direct board. Not too shabby. New riders, Matt and Brad Smith with 3. Kevin Purdy tied with Edward Pritchett with 5. And then a whole slew of seasoned new agents. Man, we're starting to see a lot more of these suckers pop up too, Casey.
Yep.
Whole lot more of them. Congratulations if you see yourself on here, seasoned new agents. These are the ones that make me the most nervous calling out the names. Brittany Nealon, Daniel Kent, Donna Bear, Evan Gladstone, Demetrius DeArmond, John Berlin, John Godin Howell. Nope, just John Godin, sorry. Michael Foreman, Monica Vasquez, Nicholas Brittle Rochelle, Robert Beal, Susan Babelet, and Yakov Tenenbaum. Congratulations,
That's a
seasoned
name there.
new
Yakov.
agent. Well done, everybody. Key leaders, top one for the week is Mr. Richard Osterhout with $30,576. Number 1 agency owner, Mr. Mark Newbauer, $54,689. Well done. Top agency directors, if you're new to be an agency director, you have to have an agency owner on your team that you've broken out. Larry and Ann Griffin, congratulations to you, $87,910. Regional agency directors, Eileen Balmer, and it wasn't even close this week. The Bomber is what we're going to start calling her. Balmer the Bomber. Like it. Mike and Sarah Pappas, $73,000, almost $74,000 in production as the top managing vice president for the week. Top senior vice president for the week, Kyle and Lisa Kimbrell. Boy, that was a close one, though. Look at that. Scott Mank, 129. Mike and Jennifer Colburn, 132. Kyle and Lisa edged it out with 134. Well done. Executive vice presidents, man, this one wasn't close. I was texting back and forth with Tar and Tyler earlier, and whew, they had some good stuff going on. $243,000 in premium for the week. Well done. Number 1 associate partner, Mr. Linwood Watkins, $495,871. It's close down there with the other associate partners, though.
Yep.
Number 1 senior partner, Mr. Edward Pritchett, $765,000. Number 1 overall, and of course the number 1 managing partner, Mr. Marshall Whalen, $805,990. Well done, sir. Great week. Number 1 direct, Mr. Kevin Purdy. KP, I hate to tell you, buddy, but you're about to slip on this leaderboard.
That's right.
And that's the most exciting leaderboard to slip from, for sure.
That's a good one to fall off of.
Yes, it is. $183,000, good enough for first this time. But when you break out a direct, as he's done, the crazy thing is that he was able to break out Scott Summers and remain number 1 in the directs board.
Yep.
Now he's getting ready to break out George and Janet. Yep. I think it's inevitable that he's going to take a small step back on the leaderboard, but a big step up financially.
He had some pent up leaders in there and production just getting ready to pop. It's all popped at once. So
yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Sometimes it happens like that.
It does. Good looking base shop crew here. Number 1, Ashley Tarr edging out Edward Pritchett. Well done, Ashley and Tyler's team. Well done. Casey, why should somebody focus on the base?
And it's the absolute best thing you can focus on if you're an agency owner, really anyone starting out, but agency owners and up. Base shop A is where a lot of cash flow comes from. It's where your future leaders and agency owners, and therefore inevitably directs, are going to come from, because it's your farm team. But one of the most important things it also does is just leading from the front. It's actually modeling exactly what you want the rest of your team to do, which is keep up a high level of recruiting while they're personally producing. So
yep.
It's just the absolute best way to get growth on your team. A lot of people kind of get to that agency owner level or reach a certain level and they think, well, now it's time for me to kind of manage and try to train and lead my people. Best way you can lead is to lead from the front and model what they need to be doing, which you guys know is just keeping high levels of recruiting. If you're on that builders call last, Brent and I were on another meeting, but we had the screen rolling and we could see that graph that Janet and George were showing where everything kind of trailed I don't know exactly what you guys were saying, but everything was trailing on recruits. And so you got to model that. And man, there's some serious cash flow that comes from that base shop too, to help you do even more of that.
Yeah, you and I were having a meeting here, and we both looked up at the graph. And the thing that stood out to me the most, and I don't know the exact numbers, but what I do know was in this year, they've had about a 25% new writer to recruit kind of ratio, right? So 25% of the people that they recruit in actually become a new writer. And it looked like the vast majority of those were sticking too, because if you saw the unique writer board from 20 to 21, that graph kind of told the whole story to me. And so if you could go in and say, okay, I want to work to become as good as George and Janet, and some managers out there are going to be a little bit better at that conversion ratio. We've seen as high as 65, 70%. Okay. Let's say that you get your numbers in your system dialed in like George and Janet, where you know it's 25%, which is still good. Okay. Some people think, well, that's frustrating because I have to go recruit all these people and they may or they may not stick. You're never going to be able to change that. You can't fight that because it's so easy into this business. It's also easy out. What you can do is change a little bit about who you are recruiting. And this hit me the other day, Casey, when we were on the hobnobbing call. I was looking at, and I think there were 13 new managers, 12 or 13 new managers on that call. I specifically asked the question of each of them, you know, and they all kind of tell us what they were doing before then. All of them except for one either had their insurance license or they were in some type of sales position, generally being a 1099 employee. And even the one outlier that really wasn't, when you kind of dug into her background, there was some kind of entrepreneurship in there as well. Now, we don't want to say that, like, if you have never sold anything or if you have never had a license, that you're not going to have success here. What we are saying is that the vast majority of AOs come from a background where they have not had to show up every single day, clock in, work 40 hours and leave. Okay. We're not saying they all were licensed. What we are saying is that many of them had their own businesses. They were inside sales. Maybe they did have to clock in, but they were still doing some type of sales, right? So how do you take that information? Well, if I'm a builder, I want to be talking to the Aflac agents, the Liberty agents, the you name it agents out there that don't have leads, they don't have a system, and they don't have everything that we have that's all bundled into one. And that's one of the things I think that we're most excited about, Casey, with the new recruiting lead strategy is we're getting ready to start recruiting a lot of licensed individuals.
That's not to say you should ignore the unlicensed, like Brandon is saying.
Nope.
Out there and everyone's got to start somewhere. It's more just kind of exercising the Pareto principle, you know, the 80-20 rule. 20% of your efforts get 80% of the result. 80% of your efforts sometimes get 20% of the result. So it's about identifying where the biggest, most consistent results are coming from and then leaning more into that. And so it's not that you shouldn't open the funnel up to everyone out there, regardless of their position. You know, before I got into sales, I was a plumber's assistant as an example, but I did have a couple years of experience in commission only sales before I transitioned into kind of what we do here. So, you know, they're out there, they're all over the place. And it's just a matter of kind of focusing some of your marketing and attention towards, you know, salespeople. And also, again, there's just a ton of licensed people out there to kind of to talk to. So maybe shift that a little bit more, because sometimes, Brandon, will talk to agency owners and, you know, I'll ask them their ratio and I'll say, what's your recruiting focus right now? And therefore your result from a recruit standpoint. And they'll say, we're probably 90% unlicensed, you know, 10% licensed. And from our experience, Brandon, you and I were never that unbalanced from licensed to unlicensed. You know, at probably the most balance, we were 50-50, but I would say most of the time we were probably 60-70% targeting, kind of going towards licensed, just because it's quicker. It's, especially if you're getting started, it's easier to kind of get momentum when you don't have this, you know, 2, 3, 4 week pipe of kind of people getting into licensing. Now, as long as you keep that pipe full it should never empty out. So if you are kind of putting unlicensed people into that pipe, the key is to just keep putting them in.
Yeah.
And it will be a continuous flow, but it's just, it's tricky, I think, to be focused so heavily on unlicensed and people who don't have sales experience. So,
yep. Let me say this real quick. Upcoming events. I think this is our last slide. We've got AOHQ walkthrough tomorrow, 11 o'clock. Also tomorrow, the FE webinar with Gary Keith. Monday morning sales training looks like it's going to be with Dan and Diane Elmer, Ryan Federico, Tom Lotz. How to improve close ratio in the home, which is probably in their home or in your home. It's going to be applicable both ways. And then obviously the debt-free living every Tuesday next week at 11 o'clock also. Okay. So let's stop this share. So what I wanted to kind of hit on too, I didn't want us to get away from this topic. So thinking back to what I saw their ratios to be, 25% of the people they're bringing in are turning into new riders. The vast majority of those are staying because you're seeing a 50% increase in unique riders year over year. Maybe it was 100% increase. I think they went from 50 something to 100 something. Okay. So if you know your ratio is I'm good enough to be half as good as George and Janet now, or I'm as good as they are, or I'm better than they are, work backwards. We've always said you can't lose in this business as an AO if you double digit recruit and you double digit produce. 20 apps, 20 recruits every single month, assuming that you have a good, healthy balance and how many of those are licensed or you're kind of fishing in the right pond. This is something that we're going to continue talking about and building out for you so that our targeting can get a little more refined. But if you know, Casey, that it's going to get on average 5 out of 20, how can you scale your systems to take that to 40 and get 10? Or if you're not there yet, can you at least really buy into that 25% number so that you can do your 20, not let yourself off the hook until you do your 20, and know that, not all those are going to stick, but let's say that the vast majority do. If you could increase your rider count by 10 to 12 people over 3 months, all you got to do is plug in the numbers, make sure that you're following the system and that they're following the system. Then if you double digit produce and double digit recruit like that as an AO, you can double every 90 days. Not all, results may vary a little bit. Okay.
Well,
but it won't take long before you find a George and Janet out of that group too.
No one on the call should feel like you have to learn how to recruit, 20 or more, like over 20 a month and moving to 30 and 40 and 50 a month. No one in our company is recruiting 50 people personally a month. The idea is that all you have to learn how to do is consistently recruit 15 to 20 in your base shop on a monthly basis. And when you're brand new getting started, it's going to take a little ramp up time to get there maybe. But if you can figure out how to recruit 15 to 20, and then with those recruits, make sure they're onboarded into the culture, into the vision, make sure you're talking about the right things with them, that our biggest value proposition is time and money. What we do better than anyone else in the industry is we get people free of having to personally produce quicker than anyone else by 10 times. We can take someone that's either newly licensed or has their license, and we can show them within a year how to completely be free of having to personally produce. Now, we're not going to encourage them to get out of the field that early, but to take the pressure off them to get $5,000, $6,000 a month rolling in before they get out of bed is our specialty. It's what we do. But if you're recruiting 15 people and you're selling them that this is a place to come and sell a bunch of insurance and get rich, that's not the message. And so if you want to grow from 15 recruits to 20 to 25 to 30 to 40 to 50, like you see George and Janet or Kevin doing, it's because they're bringing people in with the right vision and selling them the right value proposition for actually what we do. Okay. Selling insurance is a part of that. It's actually building a business in such a massive, scalable opportunity right now that we have in this industry. So you'll start to see, like, if I can figure out, Brandon, how to do 15 a month.
Yep.
I'll find myself as George and Janet out of that 15, and George and Janet will learn how to do 15.
Yep.
That's what their base shop is bringing in. They'll pop out of, AO. and they'll figure out how to do 15. And then all of a sudden you wake up and, man, I was doing 15 recruits a month, a year or two ago, and now I'm doing 50 recruits a month. But I'm only still directly interviewing.
But you need to still be directly doing it. You're exactly right.
Got to keep that hammer on, continue
Yeah.
doing it. That's what we were saying earlier. The beauty of a base shop is it provides the leadership that the rest
Yep.
of your team needs to figure out how to get that 15 a month.
So check this out. I think this speaks to exactly what you were saying for those that missed the builders call. 2018, George and Janet had 54 recruits. 2019, they had 71. 2020, they had 221. So far, 2021, they've had 228. So they're doing more, but they also have people on their team that are also doing a lot more, that are helping them do the lift. But it's also important that they didn't get disappointed, upset, burned out because they weren't good enough yet. Meaning in 2020, they recruited 221 people. That turned into 53 unique writers. They had 50 unique writers in 2019. So they kind of got stuck in this little area of it's not really no man's land because you're still profitable and you're still getting better, but they kind of hit a little bit of a personal ceiling, right? And that's what Brian Williamson was saying. They really bought into, how do I develop myself to be someone that other people want to follow and follow quickly, right? And they did the work, and now they're recruiting twice as many people. But from 2019, 50 writers, to 2020, 53, to 2021, 110. So they got better and it paid off. They kept applying pressure from 830,000 last year, all of last year, to halfway through this year, 2.1 million.
There you go.
I think that is so liberating if I'm listening to that, because, sometimes you look at a leaderboard and it feels like somebody kind of came out of nowhere and they're killing it. And we always compare ourselves to that, or we always compare ourselves to why are we not doing better? George and Janet compared themselves to themselves. They figured out what they were doing wrong by, Brian, you can speak to this because she kind of said the toughest thing that you can see, and you're muted, Brian, the toughest thing that you can see sometimes is yourself in the mirror. Like the hardest thing to take a look at, I should say, not the toughest thing, the hardest thing to do is take a look at yourself in the mirror and say, what am I doing wrong? We've all had to do those things.
Yeah,
and generally what we find is that it's just a small, real small tweak. Understanding why people want to join the insurance business. What is it that they're actually looking for out of this business? How do I give you that without putting either too many processes in place or being too much of a manager? It's such human nature to come in and try to manage versus try to lead, because most of us didn't come here with a lot of experience on being a leader. If anything, we came in with the experience of what it's like to be managed.
Yep.
And so we kind of mirror that. And a lot of times it's not the best way to do it. And I'm not saying that's 100% of what George and Janet were going through. I'm saying this is across the board what we see. What I'm saying about George and Janet is they found out what it was that they weren't doing very well, and they fixed it. And it shows in the results. And I would tell George and Janet, that's great. Get ready, because there's going to be a whole lot more things that we got to fix. It's this never ending process.
Yeah, just briefly, Brandon, I love that. One of the fundamental tasks of any good leader is to define reality. And I think you just nailed it. George and Janet were absolutely ready to embrace reality. And not only from a self-leadership perspective, but starting to ask very honest questions about their business. And we should not be afraid to ask the tough questions, right? Sometimes the thing that's keeping you from business success is just that you are hesitant to ask that tough question that's buried in your soul. And we just want to say to y'all, ask those tough questions of your mentors and your upline. And those things are the key to what is actually going to liberate your business. And I can remember conversations with George and Janet where they were just like pressing into some of those ceilings and frustration points. And it was amazing to watch them break through that. So love it. And Janet and George, you might have just named our, one of our Quility U tracks, from manager to mentor. You know, that's just spot on, right? That's what we want to see. And we have to be mentors who manage, by the way. Management isn't a bad word. We just have to learn how to do it in the quality way, which is a positive, life-giving way that we try to model for you guys.
That's awesome.
I think it's important to always understand too, that if you're going to take one thing from this call, and there's about to be a lot of things you can take from this call, is that the expectation of what you're about to go through, and I don't care if you're in your first day of the business or if you're in your, run to becoming a direct, this business is a series of ceilings and breakthroughs. Strong people hit a ceiling, do the work to break through. Weak people hit a ceiling and blame the ceiling for not being able to get through, right? That's the biggest difference between winning and losing, not just in this business, but I would argue in any business. And that comes with grit. It comes with the emotional intelligence aspect that has to be grown, cultivated, and developed. And it comes with just a vulnerability of I'm not who I need to become. Approach it with grit, willingness to kind of burn your act, have massive activity. And this thing is so duplicatable. But it always frustrates us sometimes, Casey, because I see people, come in that could be dynamite and they quit. And it's like, you're not quitting I'm not frustrated because you're quitting on us. I'm frustrated because you're quitting on yourself. Like you could be so much better if you would just kind of buy into what it takes to win.
Yep. So good.
All right. Rock's meeting today. We got a whole bunch of stuff that we're working on. But I thought before we turned it over to Todd and his crew, Casey, that we could just talk for just a second on all the amazing things that we accomplished last quarter this year, because we know the way our brain works is we're always wondering what's next, wondering why we didn't accomplish something faster, wondering all those things, right? First off, I would just say congratulations to everybody, because just like George and Janet, the company broke a quarterly record in every category ever. And that's not a quarterly record just because there was a merger or an acquisition with Assura and that Quility became this. No, you guys on the field side broke a quarterly record in every category possible. AO's broken out. I mean, obviously APV, apps, leads out, leads purchased, agency owners created, SNAs created.
We even broke a record for the amount of records we've broken.
We broke a record breaking records. That's exactly right.
Pretty awesome, guys. Congrats.
I think a lot of that too, I just want to give some credit to the lead department. Something we struggled with for 6 years became a reality at the beginning of this year with daily allocation of leads. That is no easy task with our system. It's really exciting for us to kind of continue to monitor the evolution of the lead marketplace that we've created, because we feel like we're still kind of just getting started.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you're going to see an infinite amount of direct mail mortgage protection leads that we can just continue to produce out of thin air. What do we know about the mortgage market, Casey?
It's finite. It's up and down,
It's up and down, and it's been up for a while. Okay. That means that it's probably coming back down. Nothing to panic about, because actually some of our return rates go up when interest rates go up. Some of our return rates go up when housing market actually goes down a little bit. But I think it also means that we got to be a lot more willing to embrace these new tricks, right? We have affinity partnerships right now where we could produce 40,000 more leads a month. We don't necessarily want to do that the wrong way. So we have to have help with people kind of buying in and help continuing to help us get better on the digital lead front. Here's what we know. Some people complained about our own digital leads initially. We know that they right now have a higher close ratio than direct mail. We know that they have 30% more premium per case than a direct mail lead or a sale generated from a direct mail lead, right? And we know that we are going to continue to scale those, right? Some people didn't want that. Some people didn't want call-in leads. It all starts, Casey, with how you're kind of viewing these things. Like how does your mindset work with lead? Is it lead pricing or is it lead value?
It's value. I don't care as much about the price. I care about the actual value. So the lead could cost me half as much. And because of that, I may have to go through twice as many no's to get that, but in the end, if it shakes out to the same value per lead or even more, there's a lot of our leads that have more of a value per lead. You're just going to have to kind of go through some more no's to get them. But from a financial ROI standpoint, if you're not factoring in some of the time involved in that, which beauty of, some of the dialing systems that we're kind of continuing to evolve are going to even help with that. But I'm not going to get emotional about the yeses and nos on the phone. This is a numbers game. I'm strictly emotional about the actual ROI of the lead and the value per lead. And so that's what the lead system is going to continue to kind of evolve into, is we're going to understand what the value per lead is, lob it up to you guys. But what Brandon is saying is we need everyone getting non-emotional about responses on the phone. And this person said this, is they said they didn't fill anything out, all the stuff that you hear when you get no's on the phone. Don't take that as this is a bad lead. Get at the end of that week or the end of that month and say, well, I spent this much on it and it returned this much. That's pretty good, Yep. So we have to be able to kind of do that if we're going to get different types of leads into our system. And what we're saying to you guys is we have to get more and different types of leads into the system to continue to scale like we have been. So
and I will say, I think some people think about this the wrong way. They think our digital leads, as an example, were created because we sent somebody a mortgage protection letter. No, didn't have anything to do with a mortgage protection letter that we sent. That's not how digi leads are created. And right now we're doing thousands of those every single week. And there is no mention of a mortgage at all. Okay. But that was a perfect example of someone thinking, well, I know how these are working, therefore I'm going to value X more over Y. Do that and you're missing the point. So kind of make it real simple, Casey. If you spend $30 for a direct mail lead and you have a 20% close ratio, then you spend $6 on a digital lead or $10 on a digital lead, your close ratio can be a third as much. You can have a 6% close ratio on a digital lead, and it actually turn out to be more valuable. Now you have to put in more work, and that's inarguable. So you're gonna have to get more no's, right? So we're working on all of those things for sure, but it's how you approach a lead, assuming that you know how it was created, when you don't really understand how it was created, even though we talk about how it was created, is also part of the problem. So we also have DFL leads that just dropped. Okay. Some people are going to love those, and some people are going to say, I don't like these. Okay. Don't work them. Some people are going to love them though. We're really excited about the ones that just dropped yesterday. And actually Mike Resma and someone else is getting ready to get on the phone and dial some of those today and tomorrow. That's a pretty cool thing when you got the actual head of the solution calling through the leads to see what can be drummed up. That's exciting. Getting ready to start all kind of new trials. For example, diabetes lead trials with a Forrester's product, right? There's all different types of things that we're going to start going after. And it's important that you know how on top of that we are, because if there is a dip in the mortgage market, which is inevitable, if there is a decrease in return rates, which is again inevitable, we've been doing this for 20 years, they've never gone up substantially, right? They've done this, but generally it's towards the lower, then good stuff. Okay. So we're going to continue to evolve that marketplace. And another thing around leads is getting ready to soft launch, or we did soft launch recruiting leads, getting ready to launch licensed recruiting leads probably first part of next week too. So you'll see that coming. And then there's, Casey, a lot of things behind the scenes that are going to help with recruiting. A series of 5 videos that are coming out. A lot of our managers came in to help us with a new series of audio video. So mostly video. I think we got 5 or 6 of them coming out that really speak to our value prop. We got some PR campaigns that are about to drop. We've got some new products that are in development that you guys will be contracting for within the next, AOs will be contracting in the next couple of weeks, maybe even next week. And there's some pretty exciting stuff with some products that we're not going to talk about yet because they haven't been completely filed, but they're coming and it's going to change some things.
There's more in the pipe on that stuff, Brandon.
There is more in the pipe, no doubt. And, we're going through a little bit of an advisory board refresh because we want fresher people closer to the field, kind of in it with us. Not only will we go through a little bit of a refresh, there'll be new committees added from different layers of different levels of leadership. And we just wanted to make sure that everybody hears us say, if somebody comes off the advisory board into kind of an alumni role, that's not a bad thing. I would argue that that's a really good thing, but I think sometimes we've allowed the advisory board to almost become a level of leadership, and understandably so. But, if we want to continue with an advisory board that helps us make the difference or the decisions that really affect the people that are closest to the sale, we got to bring some people in that are closer to the sale. Right. And that's a really good thing for us. Doesn't mean that we're not going to still get feedback and weighing in from current advisory board members. All of this leads up to, I'm seeing just a huge uptick in people doing trips, Casey, doing events, rather, I should say. Marshall Whalen, Edward Pritchett reached out to us a couple of weeks ago wanting to spearhead a multi-dozens of city tour coming through the fall, September, October, November. Couldn't be any more grateful than some of the stuff we're seeing from equity partners and from advisory board members and from directs in general saying, where do you need me? How can I help? That question is the best question that you can ask if you're brand new to your AO, or if you're an AO to your upline, or if you're a direct to the company, AO to the company. What can I do to help? Where do you need me? And then, Casey, I'm just hearing from people left and right. Purdy on the last call broke out 2 directs in 90 days. Amy Fine's got 4 recruiters that she's employed. Chris Cook's up over, we're getting ready to go hang out with the Cook team at the lake tomorrow. They're up over 80% year over year. And I shouldn't start naming names because there are so many people doing so many amazing things. And I would just like to say that's what leadership looks like. And that's needed more now than ever before in the company's history, because we're getting ready to go through some really fun stuff. And there's going to be some challenge. Anytime you're going through massive growth like we're going through, there's going to be some challenge with that. Another great one. I heard a message yesterday, Casey, that Mike and Sarah Pappas got a $10,000 bird dog bonus because they found somebody and put them in the agent marketplace. And
so cool.
We'll get into details on that either, but that's coming. More of that's coming. And all of that up around, Casey, we got this massive tour coming up in a few months. We got the altitude conferences coming up in a few months. And then we've got the first national conference that we've had in 2 years. It will be 2 years, 2.5 years by then, in Denver, Colorado. And that's just really exciting. So buckle up.
We talked to the corporate chiefs and executives yesterday about this, but just thinking about, the first pre-COVID, the first 10 years of our company, Brandon, so much of it was built on connecting and getting out there and doing some of these fall tours and the conferences, and just like how important that has been to our growth as a business. We've grown from event to event. Well, for the last 1.5 or 2 years, we haven't been able to have events because of obvious reasons. And now we're kind of just now starting to get back into that. And yet, as Brandon just read off, we've broke records in every single possible category. And so when you marry what all we're investing in behind the scenes, which you guys, all of us are beneficiaries of, with a $30 to $40 million tech spend over the next 18 to 24 months, assuming capitalization kind of lines up the right way, all of us are beneficiaries of that. Agents, agency owners, no matter where you are, everything we're building behind the scenes from a technology standpoint, leaning into the lead system standpoint, all of you guys are going to benefit from that. But when you marry all of that with getting actually back out to what grew our company in the first place, which was just getting in front of people, developing relationships and connecting, man, we're in for an extremely crazy ride for the next year or 2. And everyone just needs to kind of brace themselves and get ready for that. And how you do that is you put your head down and you double-digit recruit. You keep that personal production high and you pack these meetings out.
Yep.
And that last part, please don't just think that's just a throwaway comment. That could be one of the most important things you guys are focusing on as you're recruiting, is making sure that you are thinking about the value of how much it means for me to get people to an event. We know that for every 10 people we get to a live conference type event, and I would, Brandon, even probably throw tours and altitude conferences for sure into that equation, because the altitude conference is our is a big national conference. It's just kind of subbed out for some of the larger agencies. For every 10 people you get in that room, it'll represent $50,000 of agency volume on a monthly basis, which is about $50,000 a year of passive income.
Yep.
So what is that monthly, Brandon? 50 a year, about 4,000, 4,500, something like that a month?
Yeah. Yep.
How many of you guys right now, if we put $4,500 a month in your pocket before you get out of bed, would that take a little bit of pressure off? Whether you're sitting in the home or virtually selling, or whether you're, whatever the case is, like that's going to take some serious pressure off. So just do the math. If you can get 30, 40, 50 people into the altitude events, do the math on that. It's for every 10, it will represent on average about $50,000 of production, about 90 to 120 days after the event. So the name of the game is to pack these events out and let us go behind the scenes, continuing to make the investments and improvements on the platform. And then you guys go out there and continue running with the ball like you are, but let's get connected at these events. And we marry these two things together. It's on, Brandon.
It is on, buddy.
Be fun.
All right.
It's already fun.
So to clarify, we're getting ready to drop a whole bunch of new leads. We haven't gotten complaints about any leads. We don't listen to complaints about leads. We look at close ratios on leads, and we study the value of leads. And we understand that it is a lead marketplace and it's open. And if people don't want the leads, they don't buy them. That's how that works.
Are you looking at comments again, Brandon?
I am. I think it's occasionally, but I like it because I think, if one person thinks that, then other people think that. It's like, that's not really how this whole thing works for us. Yes, we look for input. We're more interested in, value and close ratios. Like how good are people at actually using them? If we were to only listen to the loudest people, then there would really only be one type of lead, and we would be about a third of our size as a company. It's important that managers understand how you talk about leads.
Yeah.
It's only about price if there's no value. If the value is 5 or 6 times, your ROI on the price, then I would spend $400 on a lead.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same comment. And Brandon, I would say, yes, there's always complaints about lead quality. That's exactly what we were talking about earlier with Brian Williamson when he said, it's it's that way of thinking about things that keeps you it's the lid for you. Because someone else right next to you says, I'm not thinking about that. Yeah, I had 5 no's out of the 20 contacts that I made, but I made $5,000 this week. So it's like, it's how you choose to kind of look at this kind of stuff. It's really a mindset shift that you have to make a lot of times.
Yeah, I think it's similar to final expense. Like it's notoriously more of a challenge for someone that has worked final expense leads to try to work mortgage protection leads and vice versa, right?
Yep.
But if your mindset is that you grew up on final expense leads, you understand the value of those leads, then you like the leads. Now, again, if I'm only bringing in $800 of premium and the lead's costing me $80, then there might be a slight value problem unless you're willing to just go work your tail off. So
exactly.
Mr. Spivey, we got to get over to you because I was supposed to leave some time for us to huddle up with Doug before this Rocks meeting, but
we man, I appreciate you guys just absolutely dropping the mic. The comments coming in about just the opportunity to learn from you two and to hear you guys talk about what got you here, what got people like George and Janet to the position they're in and how they've grown themselves, and hearing how, Chris Cook's grown 80% year over year. And I think DJ Debt Free said it best, that was just a little session of seeing 2 people preaching into the lives of how to become a millionaire. And the way that happens, it's not overnight. It's not accident, and it's not easy. And I've been very fortunate to see that from day one, watching you two and Pope and your wives all put together this company and see the struggle you guys went through. For those that know my story, I was out doing pharmaceutical sales in my beautiful company car when Brandon was calling me, originally recruiting me from the side of the road, sleeping in the back of his car, waiting on the next appointment to come in so that he could drive and protect another family. So what you guys have accomplished and the wisdom that you have and the way you continue to lead is just a pleasure to be around. I want to say thank you. I know you guys are going fast. You don't get to see all the comments come through, but we appreciate what you're doing. And more importantly, for all of you that are just joining, for you all to see what's coming next.
Yeah,
Guys, you hadn't seen anything yet. So
I know.
Brandon and Casey, I know y'all got to bounce, guys. We appreciate you and what we got coming up, guys. Will be short and sweet, but very important for everybody to pay attention. Please listen in. This is in the next wave of passive income. We've made tremendous progress with the QMS opportunity. I've got two special guests on today, and Mr. Ditson and Mr. Nathan Burks. If both of you would join me, please.
Yeah, I would just say before they get going too, before we have to jump, big gratitude to both of these gentlemen. Even though you've got, it looks like you've got them backwards. Your names are actually backwards on your faces. So
Hey,
the
that's
person
how
that
we
says
roll.
Ditson is actually Burks, and the person that says Burks is actually Ditson. So I don't
Well,
know.
we're in a land of giving. I gave Nate my link
There
to
you
join us, so
Well, you're
Brandon
gonna
do that all the
Nate's
time.
gonna
Mess with people.
I know it could have been me. Nate, you're gonna get a lot of fans quickly because of that Sooners jersey back there. There are a lot of Boomer Sooner fans out there, and rightfully so. They're pretty dang good. But a ton of gratitude to these two gentlemen for doing an extremely heavy lift. Something that is not accomplished out there in the market today is continuously being improved upon and accomplished more and more effectively through you guys. And so big gratitude for all the hard work that goes into that. A lot of hours, a lot of problems, but the only way to get to where we need to go is get past the next problem so you can figure out what the next two are going to be. And that's what you guys have been great at doing. So thank you guys so much.
oh, thank you. Thanks.
All right, guys, take it away.
I think you can't really come up with a better example of a program that's busted through a ceiling. You know, Brandon and Casey talked about winners find ways to break through that ceiling. And that's what the QMS program had to do. We've talked about it before, guys. Palmer has talked about it ad nauseum. There is a reason why other outfits, other insurance companies have never been able to become highly successful in working the clients of some other agent's book. It's very difficult. People have thrown billions of dollars at this opportunity and have not been as successful as we have been in just our first year of doing this program. And it absolutely could have not been done without so many people behind the scenes. I know Nate and Jason will take a few minutes and talk about all the support that everyone's had, but the gratitude that I have for both of you and what you've been able to accomplish is significant. I mean, we're talking about QMS. So if you're brand new to the call, let's start with the basics. That is Quility Member Services. And as we continue to grow Quility in our brand and move into the future, we're going to look for ways to engage our clients in so many arenas, even outside of life insurance. We're looking at P&C opportunities. We're looking at prescription health discount opportunities. You know, we joke about this, but we've actually had meetings about pet insurance at some point. So what we're looking to do is create this engine on the field size where we go out, we protect a family that's being asked to come in and make sure that their future is protected. And then find ways to constantly engage those clients throughout the rest of their life to make sure no matter what their needs are, no matter what occurs in their life, no matter whether it's having a new child, whether it's getting married, whether it's getting close to retirement, no matter what's going on in that client's life, we have a solution. They know who to call, or better yet, we're already staying in touch with them throughout the life cycle of them becoming a client of Quility. And so QMS started with my buddy up there, Mr. Nate Burks. He got his name fixed now, so we can put that face with that pretty name. He started this program, guys, as one of the very first 3 agents, picking up the phone and dialing clients and setting appointments and then running those appointments. He has taken that from one of 3 agents to basically what is now over 100 active agents, and I believe about 50 full-time agents in the QMS department. And this is all in just a little bit over a year. So you talk about busting through a ceiling. Nathan, we can't say thank you enough, buddy, for everything that you've really dedicated your heart and your soul and your career to in this past year. And so Nathan, let me just start off by saying welcome. He is our Director of Market Development. He carries so many responsibilities that are going to make a major impact in all of your lives in the future and passive income opportunities. But Nathan, if you'd like, man, just start a little bit and tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, I get the privilege of getting to talk about something that I'm super passionate about. And if these guys would let me on every one of these things, I'd be on here. But I started out in mortgage protection back in late 2003, and I was an agent and was privileged to open offices around the country, one in Texas, one in Portland, and then back in California. So I understand what all of you have gone through in order to generate one client, let alone an agency and the hundreds and even thousands of clients that come with that, and the blood, sweat, and tears that come with that as well, frustrations. And so we hold those clients in real high regard, and we know how important they are to all of you, and they are to us too. So I had a chance to work in some of the more advanced markets with the investment side, still, dealing with mainly fixed index annuities, but that geared towards retirement. And that was a big help, and tax-free retirement, and basically just a number of different solutions that we're able to provide through insurance. And then now with the addition of DFL. So I've had a chance to dabble, if not spend a lot of time in almost all of it. And so I feel like I have a real good handle on what that skill set looks like for a QMS agent. So understand, first and foremost, that it's already been mentioned, and I'm just going to reiterate it. This is a team selling environment. And when I say that, it means that we absolutely can't do what we do without you folks. And, we like to think that you can't do it without us either. Some of that's true, some of it's probably not, but we are a supplement. We want to be an extension. We want to be seen by all of you as a second layer and a third layer, but literally just an extension of you folks, taking just as good a care for your clients as you have. And we do put a ton of value in that. As Todd said, agent 1 out of 3. And, I was looking back at the calendar, and this, some of the first appointments for QMS were just an Excel spreadsheet and a cell phone. And, that was back in roughly middle of May. And then all the way up to the last 90 days, we set appointments for over 112 separate agents. So it's come a long way, and we've learned a lot in that period of time. And we still know we got some growth and some hurdles ahead, but we feel like we got the majority of that stuff behind us.
And you've absolutely been killing it, Nathan. And so just to share with you all, again, for the beginners on the call, what this means is you come to Symmetry, you work in field sales, you go out, you primarily do mortgage protection, you protect a client. And then what we do is over the course of that client's lifetime, we will revisit with them and make sure to see if they need a policy review, if they have any additional needs. The QMS team specializes in writing advanced market products, adding DFL, add annuities, add IULs, add other additional coverage opportunities, maybe that you didn't know about at the time, or maybe have recently become available. And just to kind of give you an idea, Nathan's being very humble, but guys, we're averaging over, and again, just to speak to the basics, when this occurs, so you go in as a field agent, you write an application on a mortgage protection off of an A lead. Say 3 to 4 years, that client comes up for a policy review and they need an annuity, and you're not licensed, you're not skilled in annuities, the QMS team takes care of that. There's actually a 60-40 split. 60% of that commission will go to the new writing agent that's taking care of your client. But you as a field sales agent, you're going to get a 40% override on that app for just doing what you were asked to do out of the beginning, which is to go out and create that client interface, open a door, and protect a family. That's incredible passive income. And just to kind of give you an idea of how this is going, just a year into it, as Nathan said, a little over a year ago, it was an Excel spreadsheet with him literally dialing cell phone numbers. And now we've got automated software. We've got technology that's made it much more smooth. And we're seeing an average of over $150,000 a month in QMS commissions, total commissions paid throughout Quilly. So Nathan, I appreciate the humbleness of that, buddy, but that is no small accomplishment and something that we're all very grateful for, especially on the 40% side here on field sales.
No, it's been a lot of fun, and like I said, I know it's only going to get even better from here. I think so many of those, that learning curve, right? It's the hard part, and the majority of it is behind us, and we still continue to learn a ton. I mean, just in the last quarter and in the last 6 months, we really continue to fine tune. But I wanted to speak a little bit to the training that all of our QMS agents receive. And the first message to all of them is client first, right? Always leave that client in a better position than when you found them. And even if that means that they're re-familiarized, they're better acquainted with the policy that they have, and there's no supplemental coverage that's ultimately needed at that time, we still feel like we've done our job. But it's funny, we talk about this in terms of sales. For me, since 2003, Jason, about the same period of time, we're talking 17, 18 years, and it's always been sales. But to this point, QMS is not a sales position. And I know that sounds strange. It sounds weird coming out of my mouth, but every single agent that's onboarded is told this is a customer service position. These folks aren't expecting to, be sold. They don't want to be sold anything. They want somebody that's going to understand where they're at and make recommendations to supplement and, diversify their portfolio where necessary, right? But it is a customer service position. It's all through education based. It's a consultative based sales position. And there's no rushing through, there's no strong arming, there's no hard closing. Like that literally is not in the vocabulary of a QMS agent, period. And what we look for is to diversify. I mean, that's really what we're trying to do. All the recommendations that we make are based off of a full insurance and investment portfolio. So we can see the big picture. We're looking to see if there are any holes in basically their overall either position for retirement or position for insurance, and then make recommendations accordingly. But they're also taught to take their time. Some of them, it's very straightforward and it's simple, and they can just say, and because of questions that we've asked, this is a problem, can you help us fix it? And then it's, straightforward and easy. But in some cases, when we're talking about, supplementing retirement income, or we're talking about repositioning one of their assets in a 401k or 403b, that's obviously a much more involved process, and these folks are all taught to absolutely 100% take their time.
It speaks so much to the partnership that we have at Quility between what formerly known as Symmetry, formerly known as Assura, and the cohesion between the two units. And so I'd like to kind of welcome Jason Ditson on. He's the Vice President of Corporate Sales. And for those new with us, what was traditionally known as Symmetry, we consider to be called field sales internally now. And what was traditionally called Assura, we refer to as corporate sales. And Ditson's been a key component to the growth of Assura through the years, has made a major impact on Quility in a very short amount of time. So Mr. Ditson, I appreciate you hopping on, buddy. And I know that there's so many contributions that you've added to this team, and it takes a village for sure. But I want to speak to something very specific that you've really dialed in with the call center that sets these appointments and works with the initial contact with these clients. And we've seen the contact rate jump by almost 14% in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Which translates to quite a few more families being protected and quite a few more passive income opportunities out there for all agents involved. So I want to say huge kudos to you for that. And let's hear a little bit from you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it has evolved quite drastically. And I just, so everybody's clear and on the same page, we talk about, it started on a spreadsheet, but it didn't start on a spreadsheet with Nathan. I mean, we started the PCS side, so the Assura side, gosh, we were doing that 17 years ago. So what's really cool is this, though it's new into the environment here, it's not new to what we're doing. We've just become more thoughtful in it. We've honed it. I don't want to say perfected, right? We're always going to work and grow. But we've really made this such a uniform process along all the lines of the QMS agents, because it is so much different than a traditional mortgage protection appointment. And it is focused on diversification and offering different solution sets. And the bonus to that, right, that 40% we were talking about, just so you know as well on top of it, because it's exciting to me, is if someone else is written up in that appointment in that household that wasn't written before, there's 40% of that you get as well. So that just means an entire family, because I've already seen it happen. I've seen it where it's an appointment on Mr. Johnson, but then the entire family gets taken care of. You get additional 40% income on that as well. We want to share because that it needs to. That client was established by you. And to kind of go back to what Nate was saying, we get it. I mean, been doing this for 17 years and working the mortgage protection side and working the PCS QMS side. We saw both ends of it. And what's really neat is we saw the need for it and we saw the excitement generated by the client for that initial touch. And it's not in certain situations when we walk through that review process and, you know, there's some misunderstandings and some things that they were uncertain about. It's not that the agent did a poor job or forgot to mention this or didn't talk about this. It's life happens. And we're talking in the course of months and years, right? Because we're going back, ultimately, I think right now, 6 years or so, where people just forget that's what protection for family is, right? You get it handled, you get it taken care of, and then you don't want to stare at that thing every day and remind you of the worst possible thing that can happen. You know, in your heart, your family's protected and you move on with life. So it is that important, though, to bring everything out because life changes. There's marriages, there's divorces, there's children, there's job changes, there's changes in where you live. So the need always evolves with the organization and the different solutions that we now have to help our clients out. We want to be able to connect those solutions to the clients in the proper situation, which just builds and strengthens that already established relationship. So it's exciting. It's a fun appointment. It's fun to help folks. It is 100% customer service. And that's really a huge difference. And in the evolution of, you know, helping our clients with mortgage protection, I want to say it's not a whole lot of customer service side, right? It's more giving direction and, you know, evaluation of a situation and moving folks into the proper solution. But this truly, it does that, but encompasses it all in a very customer service orientation type situation. And I'm just seeing and hearing such great feedback and understand the amount of appointments and clients that we're seeing on a weekly basis is 600 plus. 600 plus appointments on a weekly basis of folks that we're connecting with, reviewing their policies and helping them in situations. Sometimes the situation they're in is right where they need to be. They don't need to be changed, right? But once again, it establishes and strengthens that relationship so that in the future, if they need help with something, they know who the heck to contact. It just keeps it all tied in. So things have come a long way. We like the fact that we're seeing such positives on every end. So the agent, the QMS agent that's out in the field, it's all positive. The call center, it's all positive because this appointment setting situation in a call center environment is not the traditional call center position you think of because it's pretty darn positive. And they get paid really well for connecting folks, right? Putting one hand in touch with the other. And then on the field side, to get that supplemental income, 40% override on another product and solution that's been provided to your clients, it's huge. It really is huge. And we're seeing great things evolve from it. So we'll kind of go into as well some of the things that you guys might have some general concerns about call center, how that conversation takes place. I know we're going to talk about the commission side as well, but Todd, I'll go ahead and hand it back over to you to kind of give the direction.
So I appreciate that. There's two really big takeaways. There's a lot of takeaways from this call. There's two really important ones that I'd like for everybody to hear. First of all, something Scott Summers, Ben see before, a lot of the people that were in the early months of this pilot and dialing in the whole process to scale really figured out a couple things. One, when we reach out and talk to your client, there is a very strong chance that that client is going to remember you, Symmetry agent, as the person that took care of their family and trust you. And they're going to pick up the phone and call you and ask, should I take this appointment? Or they're going to call you and they're going to say, I got some strange phone call saying you no longer work with Symmetry. What's going on? Or I got a call from, Mutual of Omaha, or I got a call from somebody saying, from a carrier saying that there was an issue with my policy. And it's very important for every agent, for every leader with an agency to listen in to what we're about to cover, because Jason and his team has done an excellent job of creating this call center. Every dial is recorded. We can listen to the conversations at any moment. But I think it's very important for everyone to see and kind of hear the actual dial script that is adhered to by the dial team, so that you will understand why your clients, we understand, they're receiving a phone call they weren't expecting. They're not listening to every single word, taking notes. They're putting bits and pieces together at best as they're busy throughout their day. So we want to kind of go through this script to let you all have confidence in what's being said as we set these initial appointments, because what Ben, what Scott Summers, what so many people that have made 3, 4, 5, 6, I think Pogue at this point has eclipsed $10,000 in passive income opportunity. It really boils down to how you as an agent handle that phone call when it comes in from the client you protected years ago. So let's start there. And just as a teaser, we're about to get into some really exciting updates when it comes to accounting software that's going to blow your mind. But let's start with the dial script, if you don't mind, guys.
All right. So again, not just to hear us talk about it, but actually hear it and see it. So Todd and I are going to role play through this thing here real quick and just give you at least the first half that should alleviate, any questions you might have about it. So hello, Todd, this is Nathan. I'm calling about your Mutual of Omaha life insurance policy. How are you doing, Todd?
Great.
And you do recall taking out that policy, correct?
I do.
So the reason I'm calling is because your policy has been scheduled for review. Our records show that your policy hasn't actually been reviewed since it was issued back in 2017. Now, your original agent, Jason Ditson, still with the company and doing great, and you have been assigned a servicing agent who handles all of Jason's policy reviews. Her name is Jennifer Swigert. So just for starters, again, Todd said it perfectly. These folks aren't expecting a phone call, right? They're moving fast and life is happening. And then to get something out of the blue, we know that we only have a few seconds to really kind of get their attention. So sometimes they're not really hearing us until they hear the name of that carrier. So Mutual of Omaha comes up, and then what they might remember and recall is, well, I got a call from Mutual of Omaha. Well, of course, that is not the case, but we do reference the name of that company on purpose, of course. So the other one is that, are you not with the company anymore? You're not doing great, or you're not doing well, but to the contrary, we're telling them you're your existing agent, still with the company and doing great, and you have been assigned an additional servicing agent. So again, we're a supplement to you folks. And even in the presentation, the actual sales presentation, it reiterates that we're there as a supplement to you folks. So hopping back in, so Jennifer is going to go over all your policy provisions to make sure everything is as it should be. You do have specific provisions in your policy that you need to understand. In addition, Jen is going to give you all of her contact information so that your family knows exactly what to do and who to contact to get that money quickly. God forbid something were to happen to you. So again, that's all about pure service. It's all about making sure that really early on, not only in that phone call, but very early on in that appointment too, that they feel and know that this is 100% for them. So when you do, and I think it's important that you do assume that you're going to get that call from a client, and that's, such a compliment to you, right? Even if you haven't spoken in years, they get a call from somebody else that isn't you, and they feel like they're cheating on you. So they want to check it. But your response when you receive that call, again, we can't do this without you folks. So hopefully it's immediate and very positive, but something to the effect of, oh, you did get a call. Great. I was expecting it. These folks are there for you. I would absolutely encourage you to keep that appointment. Something to that, something close to that, affirming of what we're doing, of the service that we're providing. And we should be able to take care of the rest from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say real quick, if I can interject on that, just so you know, You're going to be contacted by your clients. It just flat out is going to happen. The call center, you know, when we look at scripting, we have our script, we have objection handlers. In QMS, we have 0 objection handlers, because the only time a quote unquote objection may arise, it's like, you know what, I think I want to talk to my original agent first. We are not stopping that. We are driving them to you. We want them to reach you. We want them to reach out to you. What we're simply doing is say, perfect, fantastic, reach out to them. We're going to set you as a call back here on Friday, holler at you at 11 a.m. Please make sure you contact them by then. And then we'll go ahead and move forward and set that appointment. We want you to talk to them. So there's no objection handling. Remember I talked about mortgage protection appointments, QMS? That's just the way it is. It's not a push the person forward. If they say, do I have to have this policy reviewed? And we recommend it, but no, you don't. We can update the system and say, hey, you're not interested in reviewing your policy right now. We move on. It just is that way. We are not force feeding anything on your client, because it's not how we'd want our clients treated either. So
I think that speaks so much to the intent of the program, when we absolutely immediately steer them and say, please do call, Agent Bryant Delaney, please do call the Air Newsom. We encourage that. We do get a lot of calls. We do get a lot of questions too about, what if I want to do this on my own? Or what if I want to work my own QMS book in the future? And we're very close to launching actually what we're calling a qualified process for every field agent to go through a qualification process that will ensure that you're doing this in a manner and trained on the right products to be able to service and help your clients at the same clip as the corporate sales division. So it is something that we certainly will allow and even encourage in the future. So stay tuned for that. And the second piece I'd like to say is, when you consider the amount of app splits and the amount of state licenses that you have to have, and between the carrier requirements and updating your training on all the different carrier websites, there's a lot of moving parts that you guys can only imagine that goes into a program like this. For those of you that have been a part of the program so far, I know I've mentioned some names like Ben Seeperfor and Pogue and Scott Summers and several others. I gotta say, the $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 months are exciting for me. They're a lot of fun to talk about. But I'll tell you, two of the most fun phone calls I've received about QMS were even what some would laugh at in being considered a smaller amount. Frank Brenez out there, he called me probably about a year ago at this time, or I forget the exact date. He was driving down his road going to an appointment and suddenly had a $500 and something deposit hit his bank account. He had no idea where it came from. He texted me to say, Todd, I'm kind of concerned I might have a breach in my banking account information, but it's the opposite way. I actually had money deposited, not taken away. And we confirmed it was the QMS program. And he was just fired up and beside himself and had so much gratitude to share. I mean, just last week, we're on the hobnobbing with all the new agency owners that broke out. And Jason Pogue broke in and told Brandon and Casey just how grateful he was as he was minding his own business last week when about a $600 deposit hit his bank account. No idea what was going on, no idea what was happening, hadn't heard from the client, just suddenly had $500 show up in his account for him doing the right thing years ago to protect a client with mortgage protection. But I say all that to say, we've had plenty of people that have had successful months, weeks. We've got some that are ramping up to get into the queue that are about to be activated. But one of the things that we've really been able to transform, and a lot of credit goes to Ditson for the research and for the persistency to make sure that this came to light, is some new accounting software. And so Jason, I'll let you kind of speak to that.
Yeah, so what this does is it does a few different things, but the main thing it does is ensures that you guys are getting paid without having to jump through a bunch of hoops. Before we're doing the app splits, and then you got to go get your non-resident state license over here. Now, if you have an LLC or a corporation you're operating off of, that could be $1,000. It gets a little bit cumbersome. And the problem with that, outside of those issues, is that we've taken your client, we've found another solution to place them in to help them out, and then that application sits in underwriting and then dies on the vine, and then we're kind of taken away from what we're trying to do, and that's help the client and put them in a better spot and make them happy. And we've kind of irritated them because now they're stuck in there and it's not coming to fruition. So this takes all of that away, and this allows everybody to get paid quicker. It allows that policy, the application, to go through the process quicker, get approved, and that family is taken care of much quicker than it was before. In addition, it's a great audit. Okay, so remember, we have all that data. We've got all the information that is in that data, and we have the applications that come in. Everything's done through our commission accounting, where we can isolate and see if in the background, if it was to happen and an application was not split, we catch it. It's taken care of. So it really makes the job much easier for everybody involved. It honestly helps the finance team out as well, though it's just part of what they have to do and work through the process, but it really simplifies it all down. Everybody can get paid their split without having to jump through certifications on specific annuities, specific IULs, DFL, being licensed in a specific state. It's all a moot point now. It processes through, you get paid with simple ease, and you'll be surprised at that deposit, as opposed to having to go through all those steps first and then get paid. So
one of the most common questions we get once you're rolled into the queue is, how can I keep up with the accounting of this? How can I best track how much I've made? How can I best make sure that I'm letting my accountant know where the income came from, and so that I can account for this business? And this software will allow us to be able to see it in live time. You know, prior, if you've been in the program to this point, you either receive the commissions directly from the carrier, or at the end of the month, Symmetry actually would send you out the 40% if you had requirements left to be satisfied with that particular policy. And once you satisfied those requirements, Symmetry would send you the check. This ensures transparency into the program. You'll be able to see exactly how much you've made. You'll be able to kind of track when your data is going into the queue, and you'll be able to track that to your financial records at a much easier clip. It will also be available in HQ. We're going to make sure that activity is notified within your system. We expect that to be in the next 30 to 40 business days. That should be live. So a lot of the transparency and the accounting that we've heard and had requests to be able to track this a little easier is all coming into play. And that software is really big. There's so many other platforms that this software is going to unlock opportunities for us to grow. It's really exciting times. And again, that's what, to me, speaks back to what the founders were saying as far as busting through that ceiling. I can tell you, Ryan and Michelle Miller, as grateful as they were to hear they were going to be going into the queue, Michelle Miller was ready to wring my neck because she needed to get about 30 non-residents license renewed. And she was running around doing this for a week's time. And those of you that know Michelle, she leaves no stone unturned. And by seeing that process and seeing the willingness of anybody to be able to receive some passive income, but to see a program be able to take that feedback and go out and search for ways to adapt and make it easier and more streamlined. Most importantly, so we don't get clients hung up in this needing a signature and waiting on an agent to track down another agent to do all these types of requirements. Most important is keeping that client at the forefront. So really big deal, really exciting things to come. I know the contracting team is forever grateful for this as well. Makes life a lot easier. So Nathan, if you wouldn't mind, buddy, I know we talked a lot about protecting the clients. Let us know a little bit about the mindset of what we're specifically looking for, opportunities to add additional coverage, what it's like to lead your team and the type of agents that you have assembled, and the type of experience they have to be in such a program as this.
It's obviously years of experience, preferably in the advanced market side of things. I mean, they need to know the permanent insurance world forwards and backwards, and obviously that's going to include term too, right? The types of opportunities they're looking for is, folks that have, like I said, those kind of holes in their either insurance or investment portfolio. Some folks that, have a shorter term that they're ultimately going to outlive, and they want to add some permanent coverage. Their life has changed, right? They saw it at the time as a temporary liability, right? Hit some temporary exposure, and because of life's changes, it's turned into something that's gonna, they want to protect for a longer period of time. Or we've seen a situation where what they're doing currently, if the status quo remains the same as far as what they're setting aside for retirement, they're going to find themselves with an income gap that is going to really require some major changes to their lifestyle. But there's still time to do something else supplemental to generate some additional, in all likelihood, tax-free retirement to hopefully fill that gap or get them a lot closer to it. Middle Americans being who we are, we run into a lot of debt, folks that are up to their eyeballs and have 6 and 7, 8 plus pieces of debt. And, the idea of, I don't have to tell all of you, right? The idea of being debt-free, of having a mortgage paid off, the questions even on our survey, right? Would that make retirement more comfortable? Would you be able to retire earlier if you had no debt and no mortgage? So really some of the, and of course the existing accounts that may not be positioned in the best place for them, the abandoned 401ks, or maybe they have a variable annuity that they're paying through the nose on fees and therefore not seeing a lot of returns. But so many of these folks, being middle Americans, are some of the most underserved out there. And nobody, maybe they're not taking the initiative to find somebody that can answer some of those questions. But in many cases, they'll say, I've literally been waiting. I wanted to talk to somebody about this, and here you are. The training piece of it is significant. We have regularly scheduled every single week 5 trainings, and that's just as a whole. And then the individual groups, even within QMS, have trainings above and beyond that too. So we take it real seriously, and it is something it's not like you've arrived, right? I'm trained, I'm good. Like, it's always going to require additional touch-up, additional solutions, better ways to communicate to a client to be able to find out if this is a problem for them and something that needs to be fixed. But like I said, we continue to learn so much, even just in the last 6 months. And the application of those learnings here in the second half of the year are just going to make it all that more exciting.
Buckle up, guys. This program has come so far in such a small amount of time. Again, appreciation to everybody on the call. Appreciate to all the leaders, all the agents out there that went through the initial hiccups and challenges that we had to bust through. I will say and highly encourage everybody to go on to HQ, go to Quility U, and there is actually a 25, 30-minute video that is a nice summary of the QMS program and what to expect and how to respond, that you can steer your newer agents to, or even yourself, if you've not been a part of the program yet and you're a little bit confused, or maybe you saw this today and your head was spinning and so excited, there's an opportunity for you to go there now on the LMS and watch a video so that you and or your agents can get prepared for being in the program at any time. And I also would highly encourage anybody that is continuing to build a team and continuing to recruit. Think about the opportunity that this unlocks as we're out there talking to potential new agents. As Danny Young said when this process was originally announced, where else in the world can you go where you can do one thing right one time and get paid for it for the rest of your life? And that's exactly what QMS is doing. We're making sure that not only are clients protected no matter what comes down their pipeline in their own lives, but it's also rewarding the agents that did the right thing and protected the family out of the gate. So please educate yourself. Please educate your teams. This is still a work in progress. The amount of patience that it takes for all of us to field the number of questions that you can imagine would come in from clients, from agents, is continuing to get better and better as we continue to learn to better communicate. And that's part of the concept of this call and the LMS opportunity to learn more for your newer agents to understand what to do in this program. But also keep your feedback coming. it's a lot of your feedback that has provided some really cool advancements in the program to where we sit here today and have the ability to protect families at the rate that many thought would be 2 to 3 years goals for us, and we're eclipsing it in just over 12 months. So Jason or Nate, any final comments before we log off?
Go ahead, Jason.
Oh, I was just going to say, it does all start with each and every one of you and doing the right thing and protecting a family. And we just carry that on. We just extend that out. So thank you very much. Thank you for your feedback, like Todd was saying, because that's what actually makes everything better, is hearing from you and getting some feedback on what you've experienced, even for just flat out asking for some clarity. That's what we're here for. We want you to be completely clear and understand exactly what's going on, and to know in your heart, not just because we're saying it, but your clients are going to be handled with absolute care and compassion. So I appreciate everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one heck of an opportunity that's been provided for all of us and for QMS, for Quilty. I mean, we like I said, we don't take it lightly, and it's really, really just starting to get exciting. Like the next 12 months compared to even the first 12 months, I really can't wait to see. And as stuff like APL comes in, we get even more and more visibility about exactly how much we're protecting clients and exactly how much more value we're adding. And then, a distant second, how much compensation comes out to all of you as a result. It's always nice to be able to just pinpoint and measure, even though that's secondary, right? But it does help us understand how many folks that we've helped. So we'll keep getting better on our end, and you folks just keep doing the wonderful job that you're already doing. And hopefully we'll be seeing each other for real for the first time.
That's right. It won't be long. We're all together for face-to-face opportunities. And I'll wrap with this, Nate, because you said it on accident, but I know why the term probably slipped from your mouth. One of the biggest key takeaways I can give you on this call is you have to approach QMS with what Meredith and Witt always teach in API. Always assume positive intent. Assume positive intent. In the QMS business, we're protecting clients that do not understand this industry at the level of which you all do. And when you start to work with clients, there's going to be misperceptions, there's going to be confusion, there's going to be a mix of words that you might hear about. But I hope you've all seen on this call the heart and intent of the program from the top, from the leaders that are executing and daily tasked to manage the individuals that are running such a program. And it is pure. It is absolutely chasing the best intent for the client first and foremost, always. And for that, guys, we can never be thankful enough for what it is that you're pulling off and accomplishing. So everybody out there, appreciate you joining in today, and we'll talk to you all real soon. Thanks Nate and Jason.
Thank you.